Good morning, and welcome to the virtual Sunday service of the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Elkhart. We are a welcoming community, encouraging religious freedom, nurturing individual spiritual and ethical growth, celebrating diversity, promoting a just and sustainable world. My name is Ryan Gill, and I'm a member of the board of this congregation. Welcome to you all, and thank you for tuning in today.
Hello and happy Memorial Day weekend to all of you. My name is Amy DeBeck, and it is my pleasure and a privilege to serve as minister at Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Elkhart. My pronouns are she, her, and hers, and I am so happy that you're with us today. The first thing I want to tell you is that between 11 and 1 today, you are invited to drive through at UUFE for curbside pickup and receive a care kit. Please do not plan to get out of your car. Kevin and I will hand you your kit at the end of our 6-foot pool skimmer. Please take pictures of flowers around you. Take the picture with you and flowers, however you like. Many of you have already sent pictures. I really appreciate this. We'll be doing flower ceremony in a couple of weeks, and I'd really love to have as many photos as possible. Next week, the board will meet to discern how long we'll continue to meet online rather than in person. Look for announcements. Now, as we gather together, I invite you to get centered, plant your feet if you'd like. We are going to ring this gong 3 times. We ring the gong 3 times, once for those who came before us and made a place for us. Once for those who are here now. Once for those who will come after us and build on the dream.
Hi everyone. Today's chalice lighting is by James Morrison. Within each of our hearts there is a most glorious light. Go forth and let its spark help you understand what troubles both you and others. Go forth and let its light of reason be a guide in your decisions. Go forth and bring its ray of hope to those in need of help in both body and spirit, that they may find healing. Go forth and fan the flames of passion to help heal our world. Go forth and spread the warm glow of love, pushing back the darkness of the world. Go forth and share your glorious light with the world.
Ours is a covenantal religion. We have a covenant that we say each time we are together, and we think about it when we are not together as a way to help smooth the rough spots. It reminds us of how we aspire to be. I hope that you'll join with me now in saying our covenant together. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. To dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another, this is our covenant. Each week we take up an offering and we share it with an agency whose values are in line with ours. Last week and today, our offering will be shared with Planned Parenthood of Indiana. So far, we'll be sending them a check for $40. If you respond with either a check or online give to square.com, we'll be able to send them more. It is time to generously give and receive the morning offering. Memorial Day has at least a few origin stories, from its origins being specifically to commemorate veterans who died in action, to it being started by people of color, and I have preached about all of them over the years. This year, for Memorial Day, I want to talk about how important it is to our human psychology and spirituality and our sense of community to name our dead. It helps us to remember them, to honor them, to make it real for ourselves that someday we will be among them. It helps us remember the order of things when we maintain a link between past, present, and future. Memorial Day in the usual pre-pandemic US would mean that pools opened and folks had picnics, and it ushered in summer. Memorial Day has kept a sense of honor about it, with parades featuring veterans and people laying flowers and wreaths at graves, be they military or not. For the record, or by the way, I suspect that part of the national pall we feel, that vague sense of sadness, is that it does not feel right to be proud of a country whose government is so hateful and corrupt. So here we are, Memorial Day in pandemic. It is important to remember that this will not go on forever. First, I hope that we will honor those who gave their lives for this beautiful country. Yes, we are deeply, deeply flawed. We have roots in colonialism and racism. We also have mountains and lakes and meadows and backyards and beauty everywhere. Patriotism lately is less about military might and Star-Spangled Banner, more about beautiful surroundings, more this land is your land. As we remember our dead, may we hold in our hearts the importance of naming them. As we think about people who gave their lives for this nation, we must take into account those who lost their lives, who did not lose their lives in service to this nation, but rather because their lives were taken from them. Blessed are the immigrants, past, present, and future. We did a service several years ago about the people who were lost in an airplane crash that Woody Guthrie wrote a song about called Deportees. During the pandemic, people who usually come here on their own or who are invited by farming companies who make their living as migrant pickers, providing food for people in the U.S., they're still doing that. Even as these pickers are treated as undocumented rather than essential workers, they are the nameless people who make it possible for us to have much of the produce that we don't grow ourselves. Blessed are the kids in cages along the southern border of the U.S. and wherever else there might be camps for detainees of any age. We don't know their names. And in our own struggles to get through the challenges of the pandemic, it's even more unlikely that we will be able to shut down the camps anytime soon. How many of these children have lost their lives for nothing they did wrong? What are their names? Blessed are people of color, unjustly profiled as dangerous targets for white America. We hold in our hearts the fear every black mother has for her children. No mother should have to receive the call that their son was killed while jogging, or that their daughter was killed while sleeping, and her partner's in jail, not for her murder, but for trying to protect her from being murdered. People of color whose deaths do not receive justice, regardless of whether they were killed by police or not, leave families and entire communities reeling. All of us should be grieving. We should be protesting a government and justice system that allows even one wrongful death, let alone the many who die. Blessed are the names we read each November during Transgender Day of Remembrance, citizens killed by a culture who does not believe they deserve to live. Most of them are women of color. Blessed are those who gave their lives in service to this nation. May we place wreaths of honor on their graves and remember the sacrifice they made. May we remember all of our soldiers who died, even after the war was over, who carried those memories with them throughout their days. We owe them a debt of gratitude to enjoy the beauty of this nation, even if the politics are broken. And blessed are the almost 100,000 people who had their lives taken from them by the COVID-19 virus. Flags are at half-mast from Friday to Sunday for our pandemic dead. On Monday, they will stay at half-mast for veterans who gave their lives. As we approach this landmark of 100,000 dead in this nation, we're not hearing about memorial services or name ceremonies. This needs to change. Naming is a holy act. In our religious tradition, when we have a baby, we might choose to dedicate them or baptize them or hold a naming ceremony. Naming is holy. Each year, to commemorate the Holocaust, synagogues hold ceremonies that go on for 25 hours or more, reading the 6 million names of those lost in the Holocaust. It is called Yom HaShoah, and many people are invited to read from the list. Naming is holy. When we think about naming the military veterans who have died, we think about the mission they were on. World War II vets were fighting fascism in Europe. All the young people who have died in wars, from Korea to those who are currently in the military now, who have died, gave their lives trying to maintain the freedoms they believed they were fighting for. It feels like an honor to remember what they gave up and the futures they will not have, so that foreign nations did not wage war on us. Honor seems fuzzy when we think about those almost 100,000 people who are dead. Did they really die because people could not be bothered to stay home or wear a mask while they were out? Did that many people really die because the government had so little concern for citizens' lives that they did not demand that we go on lockdown? This Memorial Day feels different from others. Perhaps a slice of life story sums it up best. A young adult dear to our family graduated from college with no ceremony because of COVID-19. They live on their own with a partner, but they really wanted to come to Elkhart for the weekend for a change of scenery, because they miss their family and family of choice, and because, well, it's Memorial Day and there's usually cookout opportunities. So in my backyard, we set it up as a social distancing event. My child asked me ahead of time if they could hug their sister of choice, and we decided together to not even ask. Each household had a table set up for them 6 feet from the other tables. We took turns getting food from the table in the middle. Several of us commented that it felt normal, it felt like old times. I agree. But here's why it felt different. Patriotism, or something like it, has come alive for me. Every step I took to prepare, and every minute we were in the yard, I was thinking of all those healthcare workers who died during this pandemic, and all of those who will, all of those who are sick, or they got the virus and lived, but they will be disabled from it. Soldiers going into war know they might get killed. They trust their leaders to take them into a win at each battle so that they might live to fight another. All the while, they have a bigger purpose, to fight fascism or whatever inhumane ideology is posing a threat to the American way of life. When I think of the doctors, nurses, janitors, orderlies, chaplains, administrators, and every healthcare worker who still goes to work, even though a virus with no vaccine or cure could take their life, I feel like I want to be true to the cause. I wanted to make sure that everybody at my picnic stayed safe so as not to put undue strain on these frontline health workers. As I saw two loved ones who are not on the same quarantine, this refers to people quarantined together, a quarantine. When I saw them get a little closer than 6 feet from each other, I spoke up. Not for moral purity, not because I'm bossy, although I am, but because when we do not respect the sacrifices these medical people make, it feels like mocking dead soldiers. The whole reason we keep ourselves home and wear masks if we are around others is so that tons of us do not get sick at the same time and overwhelm the workers who care for us. We've been at this long enough now to know that medical professionals get the virus too. They also die from it. They also get depressed at the never-ending need for care, and they die by suicide. And they all have loved ones that they're worried about. Some of them choose to keep going to work, not lose their job. And this means that they have to self-isolate and not see their own families because they don't want to pass on the virus if they were unknowingly infected. Taking precautions with my normal activities abstaining from certain things that would surely have been fun, but put at risk for exposure myself and others. Well, taking precautions and abstaining is done so that brave people out in front are not sacrificing so much for nothing. Some people call it compassion or good sense. It's feeling like patriotism to me. In the war on this virus, our governmental leaders are falling short. I don't feel a swell of pride for that leadership or for that way of life. I don't know many who do. But when I think of my country, my locality, I think of the people who don't understand personal safety the same way I do, the same way you do. My way of honoring our troops, both those who have died and those who are serving, is to live my life in a way that minimizes their risk and honors the sacrifices they are making. I know that people understand freedom differently. I know that I don't count my freedom to have a gun as my most important freedom, but for some, it is. Just as some folks think that their God, or the men who interpret God's word, would make a fine leader for this nation. I hold dear the freedom from there ever being a state religion. Freedom is not free, and justice is not real until it's real for everyone. And so this Memorial Day, I'm having feelings long dormant. Sacrifice, honor, patriotism. When I decided that this was a good time to have a drive-through church experience, I tussled with every step to make sure it honors our frontline soldiers, the healthcare professionals who we as a nation are going to depend on, and we already have been. And I think of all those names, all those people who have died, for whom we have not yet had any kind of national mourning. Just as our murderous president has said that if we don't take tests, then we won't have all of those high numbers of positive results, maybe if we don't list our dead, it won't register how many of us are dead. Or how stupid, disrespectful, and wasteful it is to keep indulging in behaviors that require healthcare professionals to keep sacrificing their own family happiness and their own health. Names are important. Around the country, clergy groups are devising ways to name and honor our dead in this war. The almost 100,000 belong to us. They are our dead. They deserve to have their names spoken aloud. They shall not have died in vain. Lessons have been learned, and we will not take one step back. We will move forward together, immigrant and citizen, forward together, black and white, forward together to empty those cages and free the children, forward together to let love win. And we will keep the safety rules by moving forward together into behaviors that honor our healthcare troops. This feels like patriotism that we could believe in. May we keep in mind that naming is holy, life is sacred, and living in ways to honor the sacrifice of others is a noble aspiration for this Memorial Day. As you go about your Memorial Day weekend activities, I sincerely hope that you will maintain social distance, keep yourself safe and everyone around you as a sign of respect for those who are working for all of us. Our benediction is from Barbara Peskin. Because of those who came before, we are. In spite of their failings, we believe. Because of and in spite of the horizon of their vision, we too dream. Let us go remembering to praise, to live in the moment, to love mightily, to bow to the mystery. Blessed be. Amen. Stay home, stay safe.